Hi, my name is Ben Petrie. It's a rainy day, and for today's rainy day adventure, we're going to learn how to clean a carburetor. So the problem I seem to be having is that my guaranteed to start lawnmower is not starting. This is probably because there's gunk in the carburetor, and if you're like me, you have absolutely no idea what that means. This, my dear friends, is a carburetor. Actually, no, this is a filter. See, look. Filter. That has to come off. The carburetor is actually inside there, and we're going to take it off today. The first thing we have to do is remove these two nuts. So I'm going to take this thing off. I don't really know what it does, but it belongs right there. So we're going to put it down here in our pile of junk. And then we've got our handy dandy nut puller, which we're going to use to pull off these nuts. There's one loosened, two loosened, and then they can just be spun off the rest of the way. Whoop. Shit. So now that the nuts have been removed, we're going to pull this filter housing in there. Now that, my friends, is an actual carburetor. For those of you who don't know what a carburetor is, it's a thingy that the gas goes in. Well, Google it. So the first thing we're going to do is remove these two linkage arms. I don't know if you can see them right. Here's one, and back here is another. Basically, just remember where they go. Be careful. These two are kind of idiot-proof. We're going to pull those off, being careful to not bend anything. So this first linkage wire just comes right off like that. This one has a little tiny wire spring attached to it. That's just going to come right off like that. Now this other one's a little bit more challenging. Requires two hands. Essentially, you have to get off that end first, then remove that end. I'm going to put the phone down while I attempt to do that, and that way I don't record myself grunting and cussing, etc. Piece of... Come on, you son of... Okay. Get out of there, you son of... Oh, I left the phone on. Okay, so after much trepidation, I got that one out. Now it's just a simple matter of finding the point of least resistance here. Sorry about that. Okay, so back to the carburetor. The last thing we have to do is remove the fuel line and drain out the excess fuel, which is this little guy right here. And this pinchy thing requires a pair of pliers. So we've got a little pan in place to catch the drips. We're going to use a pair of lineman's pliers here because they're kind of broad and good for squeezing. And we're just going to move that guy back. Get a little bit of a purchase on the... Okay, I'm going to have to put the phone down now. So we yank that thing off. The gasoline is draining from the tank. I don't have much in there. Into this little pan here. And now, if everything has gone correctly, we should be able to simply pull that carburetor right off. Oh boy. So as you can see, we've got the carburetor fully pulled off the lawnmower. Now, there's a few tools you need to do this job. This guy right here is my handy dandy 8-in-1 screwdriver. Never leave home without it. Nut puller. I also have a multi-tool along with your linesman's pliers. Now, the first step, as you can see on the bottom here, this thingy here is where the gas kind of collects. I don't know if it's called the gas pan or what. There's a screw here. This screw just lets the gas drain out. This screw, however, attaches the thingy onto the other thingy, like so. You just want to bust it loose a little bit. I pre-drained this of all gas down in the garage. So there you can see the inside of your gas pan thingy. This thing here is some kind of float valve thingy, so it floats to shut off the flow of gasoline to the carburetor when there's less gas, and then it opens back up and lets gas back in. Only thing you have to do here is just release this little pin. Make sure you don't lose that, and this thing slides right out. I like to keep my pin inside the float just so I don't lose track of it, and set that off to the side. Now, a few more things to disassemble on the carb. This little doodad in here has got something in it called a jet and a fuel emulsifier. Just a normal flathead screwdriver. You don't want one that's, you know, got like the diamond shape to it because you want to go right in and not mar the surface. Give that 20 or so turns, and then it should pop right out. So this is your emulsifier. And as you can see, it's got these tiny little pinholes in it. Now, this is the part that's most likely to clog, also your little jet. Some people recommend cleaning it with a piece of a steel brush. I don't happen to have one, but I do have some very fine wire from a coax cable, like the kind that brings your television or your internet into your house. Now, if you can see in there, we're going to use this tiny little thing to just ream out those little holes. Yeah, it's like threading a needle. Very tedious. If you have shaky hands like I do, it'll just make it even more challenging for you. Once you ream out these holes, you'll hit it with some carburetor cleaner that comes in a spray can. Smells like vodka. Probably doesn't taste like vodka, I would just assume. I'm not going to do that now, just so that I don't bore you with the mindless tedium. One more set of holes here, and then we can go get Daddy a pin from the sewing kit. Yeah, a pin with the yellow head. You know where the sewing kit is?
I love you, Daddy.
Thanks, Asher. Okay, so we got a nice little spot of light through that guy, which means he's clean too. Thanks, Annie Bonnie. That's what I call my daughter. Make sure that's all the way through. And that's it for the emulsifier and the jet. Now, you can see on top of here, we got this little screwy doodad. That's got to come out in order to release this thingy. I have no idea what either of them do, but I know you got to pull them out if you want to get the sun gun clean. This one, just take note of where it starts. This one was a little bit more than a 1/16 of an inch through the hole. I'm not sure exactly what it does, but it's probably important. And this one, I believe, just pries up with a little bit of pressure. All right, he's off. Now there's another little jet inside there, and we're gonna just give that another good cleaning. Okay, so that one's more or less clean. Set that one to the side. There is a tiny little hole somewhere inside this portion. You're supposed to clean out those two. This is an exercise in frustration, so I'm not gonna make you watch me do the whole thing. Just know that it's a necessary evil if you want to get your entire carburetor clean. Where'd the hole go? Oh, there it is. Okay.
You don't know what you're doing.
No, not really. Okay. That one's clean. All right, now we're ready to start reassembling our carburetor. So I'm gonna take a little bit of just, oh, that's not a little bit. Okay, lawnmower engine oil on my finger. And we're just gonna lubricate the O-rings on this little guy here. Run that wire through it one more time, and we're gonna stick it back in. So, as you can see, it goes in that hole there. The hole has flat sides on it, so it's easy to tell which orientation it needs to be in. That looks like the right stuff. Back in place. Now we're going to put our screw dad back in. And this guy only goes back in as far as it was. So I'm just going to eyeball it from up here. This is something you can figure out on your own. Now there's a point of tension in there. You can kind of feel it click into place. So that's where you want to stop. So I think we're to the point now where we can put in our jet. Our jet's just going to drop right in. I'm sorry, this is the fuel emulsifier. There. And then the jet. Ooh, except there's a little guy hanging out right in there. Aha! That's probably my culprit right there. Just a little bit of grime is all it takes to completely stop. What are you doing? And again with the screwdriver and the screwing. You don't want to over tighten it. You'll hit a point of tension right about there, and then just give it a nice little twist so it syncs up nicely. So almost all the pieces are put back together. This is our float. I don't know if it's called a float. That's what it does, so that's what I'm going to call it. There's a little pin that has to go right in that hole. I don't know if you can see that. And then the attacher pin. You just want that to sit right in there, like so. This is the fuel nozzle. So the pan is going to sit on there such that the drain spout is on the opposite side. And this is something that I just took note of before, which you will also need to take note of before. Also, it's handy to take a picture of everything and every step of the way as you do it. Otherwise, if you're like me, you'll just plain forget, and then you'll screw everything up. You'll void the warranty, and you'll be out of luck. You'll have to buy a new one. So, pay attention. I guess that's the lesson of the day. Last little piece of the carburetor goes on like this. Also, I already did this, but you'll want to lubricate the O-ring there with a little bit of that same motor oil. You make sure you don't get any of the carburetor cleaner on that or any other rubber part, because it's very corrosive to plastics and rubber and will make it fall apart and you'll be out of luck. All right. You don't want to over tighten these either. They've got a little gasket on them, so they should be liquid tight after 1 or 2 good twists. And there you are, your carburetor's put back together. A couple steps I didn't show were just cleaning off the parts with a paper towel. I took it apart once already today, but I forgot to pull out the little doohickey and the what's-a-majigger. But you want to spray everything down with some carburetor cleaner, wipe it down with some clean paper towels, and now you're ready to reattach the carburetor to your mower. Okay, so we got the carburetor all put back together. This gasket here is pretty well idiot-proof. You don't even need to remove that thing when you pull it off. And there's only one way it can go on. Just make sure your gas pan doohickey is facing down. There was a gasket that came off. I don't know if you saw that before. You just want to make sure that goes on in the exact same way as before, and it's free of debris. I don't know what these things are called. Hose clamps, probably, because that's what they do. Okay, so now we're going to reattach these linkage arms. It really doesn't matter the order in which you do them, so I'm going to do them reverse order from how I took them off. There we go. Okay, we've also got the springy-dingy-ding-dong. There we go. All right, so linkage arm and spring have been reattached. The other one's harder, so we're going to do that one without the camera. Okay, so we got this one put back on, and I think I can show you how to do this one without driving myself absolutely bonkers nuts crazy. Okay, I think I might be going bonkers nuts crazy. Yep, never mind. Anyway, both linkage arms have been put back on in the proper order. We're ready to put the filter cover back on. Okay, so carburetor cover or filter cover, whatever you want to call it, goes back on along with these nuts. And I'll spare you the nitty-gritty. You saw this once before. If you can't figure this powder out, well, I'm afraid you have no business taking apart a carburetor and cleaning it. All right, talk to you later. Okay, moment of truth here. Everything's back together. We put a little bit of fresh gas in, and now we're going to pull that cord and see if we can get it to start. Wish me luck here. Excuse me about that. I was just very excited. So that's it. There you have it. Taking apart a carburetor, putting it back together, cleaning it. You probably didn't learn anything, but neither did I. So until next time, I really haven't thought of a sign-off, so yep, still haven't thought of one.